This is the Barbell VooDoo Podcast with your hosts, Roy Mangrum and Jamie Free.
Sweet.
Here at the Jamie Free headquarters.
Yeah, 27 HQ. Welcome.
It's the Barbell VooDoo Podcast.
It is. Again.
What are we sponsored by today?
Sponsored by... No, I don't think anyone's given us anything.
No. I did buy this Kill Cliff, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's actually double awesome.
Brought to you in part by... by the Shell Station and Kill Cliff.
There you go.
Where he purchased that. Could have got one here for free, but no big deal.
Son of a bitch.
I know. But we don't have that flavor.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Well, then I'm glad I got it.
There you go.
There you go.
So I think today we want to talk a little bit about programming.
Programming.
Yeah.
Let's kick it off. I know you got some points of interest here.
I think one of the things that's interesting about programming, and one of the things that I found when I came in, was I was a little more, first of all, I'm a little older than a lot of people who are studying CrossFit these days competitively. But, I came in with a strength base, and I was thrown immediately into elite level competition training. Probably not what I needed immediately. Probably needed some technique and some some structure of some sort that could teach me what was needed. And I think that's a lot of the problem that comes in today. You see a lot of these athletes, a lot of these kids coming in, and they're coming out of high school, coming out of college sports, and they're strong, and they throw them right into they're competitive, and they can move well, and they can push weight around. So you put them in something that's a little more competitive, and they're missing a lot of the basics that come along with it. You are around a gym a lot. You coach in a gym. What are your thoughts on that? You see college athletes coming over?
Our clientele number one, the clientele there's pretty diverse. So you get some college athletes, not honestly, just a few, very few. And then most everybody else is like trying to get in shape, kind of thing. So, as far as programming goes, it's not as geared toward the competitive side.
Yeah.
So, I know for me, when I first got around CrossFit, the programming to me seemed like it would be very difficult to program.
Yeah.
Number one, there's so many different movements and things where, coming from the world of powerlifting, I had to program around squat, bench, deadlift. Well, that's pretty easy.
Yeah.
You're programmed for 3 movements. You got dynamic day, max effort day, and then you hit some accessory work and go home. So, to me, it was very, very confusing to try to figure out how to program for it. Maybe that's just because my mind was locked in that old school, just the kind of the conjugate method. But I find it really interesting, though, as I've been around it longer, to take that conjugate method and apply it. But I know that's kind of trailing off course from where we started. But I like to take specific movements. So, let's say if you have someone that's working on, hey, I've been stuck at X weight on my clean or my snatch for this long. I take the movement and break it into pieces.
Absolutely.
I don't know if is that normal? Is that how you do things, or how you see things?
I think that based on a lot of the things that I've worked with and a lot of things I've seen, that the only way to strengthen a movement is to do the movement. Now, that being said, I think that the accessory work from Louis and Conjugate and West Side definitely breaks down each movement. It's not just, all right, you have to snatch and you have to clean and jerk. You are working pulls, you're working weighted pulls, you're working speed pulls, you're working all the different movements that allow for you to get in the right position. So it really breaking down the movement into, say, 3 three different spots, and then working from those positions, and then linking them up to make your movement. That, yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that some programmers, some gyms are lacking. Not just understanding that there's more to life than snatching, clean and jerk, and just doing a snatch and a clean and jerk. And I think that we come across that a lot when, you drop it in other gyms. You see, you're like, all right, well, this person's having some issues here. How are they going to break those bad habits that they've got from whatever they've learned?
Yeah.
And that's definitely, what you're talking about, and breaking that down.
Yeah, I really like, one of my favorite things, and we've done it for snatch and clean and jerk, is just do a banded deadlift. So if you're not familiar with banded deadlifts, so that's something you do a lot with the conjugate method or West Side method, depending on who you are and what your definition is. But you if you don't have a gym where there's pegs mounted to the ground, you just kind of stand over a band and loop it over the bar, so that you have to overcome the extra resistance as you're progressing throughout the movement. So, and sometimes one of my favorite things to do is we'll just call it a PR day. So you're going to hit a PR if you show up.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. It's just a trick on the mind.
Yeah.
We'll be like, we're going to work up to a heavy banded deadlift. And we drop the band and start our cleans.
Yeah.
And everybody's, all of a sudden now that bar's flying way up where you may not be able to pull it past your belly button. Now it's, you're pulling it all the way up to your throat.
Based on the fact that with the band you have to really extend the hip.
Right. But too, like, I think there's a CNS component too.
Loading it. Yeah.
Right. So now you're like, holy shit, this bar is so super light.
Yeah.
And now it just flies up, where before, when you had the band on it, it's actually trying to pull it away from you.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, I think there's a lot of validity to the conjugate accessory thought process, and I think that, especially when I started out, I know that Derek Robinson, Project Nomad, does a lot of accessory work, and one of the most important things he knows he has in his gym is a reverse hyper and a GHD, so glute hand developer for reverse GHRs, and then you have the reverse hyper for extension, hamstring curls, things like that. So
that's one of the first things I bought for my garage gym.
Reverse.
I started putting it together, because when I had a reverse, when I trained powerlifting, you did the reverse hyper twice a week, 6 sets, so it's ascending weight. You started with 335-pound plates. You just kept adding 35s for 6 sets. And then as soon as I started putting my garage gym together,
knew you had to have
that was the first thing I bought.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I remember from being out in California with at Midtown Strength Conditioning, was such an important part.
Midtown would be the home of...
It was at the time the home of Mark
Super
Bell.
Training.
Yeah, it's Team Super Trainer. It's at the strongest gym
in the West.
On the walls, great Olympic lifting coach was there as well, Camilo Gutierrez. So I had all that at my fingertips, didn't know what I was doing with it. So I actually didn't learn anything about Olympic lifting. It was basically squat, deadlift. I was training to be pretty, or attempting to be pretty, trying to be a fitness model back in the day when I was much younger. So, but, that was one of the things that we did to make sure we were activating our hamstrings too. So, and that's one of the things that I come across a lot, because I train mostly athletes, youth athletes, high school, college, is most of them are not activating their glutes at all. There's no activation of the hamstrings, the glutes, any of that. So teaching that and getting that to engage is something that's incredibly important for power output. I've had a baseball player and a football player. One kid that when he left, when he started with me, I got him up to 235, and then taught him some things, and now he's cleaning 305 power cleans. So he's only a freshman in college right now. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, but you have all you have to do is teach these kids the proper way to use their bodies. because no one's teaching them that. You know, they're college programs. I mean, I know you guys. I know Greg has a small issue.
Yeah.
Out in Spring Hill.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. If you know who we are, then you can read between the lines and figure stuff out. I was at one high school, and last year was my last season was my last year. I had a goal in mind. We reached the goal, and I was going to pursue other things. So once I'd helped the team reach the goal, I moved on. He was trying to offer help to another school in the area, and they knew everything.
Yeah,
they know everything.
And these aren't trained.
No, and one thing, he would be upset about it, as knowing Greg knows what he's talking about.
Yep. Absolutely.
I have highest amount of respect for him. A lot of these coaches only know what they know.
Yeah, exactly.
And they don't know what they don't know.
But they act like they do.
Right.
And I think that's the overstepping of those bounds that, so say you have, and I know in college, I went to a Division III college, and our strength coach was our defensive coordinator. I never saw him in the gym.
Right.
I was never, he was obviously being the defensive coordinator. I don't even know what program we followed. I have no idea what we were doing in there. I never cleaned over 300 pounds. I was a 230-pound fullback, and I couldn't clean over 300 pounds.
Well, I think one of the things is, let me go back. So, at the college level and high school level, so there's a little bit of difference as far as compensation, right? That coaches get. I know there's a school in Rutherford County that had a little issue with that this year. Follow the news, but did you see that?
I did not.
Oh, I'll tell you about it later. Booster Club paid them lots of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in the paper. It was a big deal. So, anyway, so a lot of times those guys, they're just kind of filling that void where they don't put an emphasis on the strength conditioning. You have coaches come in and go, hey, we did 4x5 or 4x10 or whatever the hell they did in college, and that's what we're going to do because that's what we were taught in college. Well, what college did you go to? Did you go to the University of Alabama? Did you go to Auburn? Did you go to UT? No, I went to this school over here.
Yeah.
Well, like you were saying, you don't even know what program you were following. You probably don't know what the goal was, what the explanation was. So if you didn't know all those things, you probably didn't have very much instruction to begin with.
Zero. So
you're passing on the same bad information that you got when you were in college. And if you don't know any different, then you don't know that that's bad information. So luckily for me, or I guess it would be luckily for me, when for X school that I was with, the coach had played at another level. So he knew what he didn't know.
Yeah.
And that's where I came in. He's like, you know more than me in this, right? But also for me, I stayed in my lane.
Yeah.
I didn't play football.
Yeah.
Don't ask me a football question. If a kid come up to me and go, Coach, how should I do this? No clue.
Yeah.
No clue. You might talk to about squat, talk to about deadlift, whatever.
Yeah.
If you're asking me how to block somebody, have no clue.
Yeah.
Go talk to him. I stayed in my lane. A lot of these coaches don't understand stay in your lane.
Yeah.
So, great. I feel bad for him because he had the best intentions. The cool thing is now he is at a different school helping out.
Good.
And they are very receptive. And he took the exact same approach. He's like, hey, look, I don't want anything. I just want to pass on knowledge.
Yeah.
You can take it, you can leave it. Here's what I offer. And they said, dude, come in here. Help us learn. And they've seen huge improvements.
Oh, absolutely.
So why they are closed-minded about that, I don't know. But then again, it shows. All you got to do is go to go to a high school game on Friday night, you know who's prepared, who's not prepared.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Well, and I think that a lot of that plays into some of the main issues of soft tissue injuries and how kids are stretching, mobilizing these days,
or not.
Or lack thereof.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I've noticed, and I work with a high school, is that soft tissue injuries went down immensely amongst my kids. We didn't have any because we take the time to mobilize and stretch, and we teach proper form. You know, and then you know that all these private schools around here have these amazing financed weight rooms.
They have awesome facilities.
And I have seen some of the programming, and you're looking at it, you're like, what are you actually going to do with any of this equipment? You're wasting it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest problems I have. And I've talked to a couple of schools, and they pay a lot of money to their strength coaches to sit behind an office door and do nothing.
Some of them have multiple strength coaches.
Yeah. And I know one of the schools especially the school I'm talking about, has multiple.
I think we're talking about the same school.
Probably. and it's just like you're sitting there thinking, this school produces Division I talent with no direction.
Yeah.
So you're like, all right, well, if they just had some guidance, and here's the thing. Their strength coach is getting 6 figures, and I'm sitting here like, I would. You let me play in that gym, I'll do it for half.
Yeah.
I'll do it for a quarter. I don't care. I just want to have, that opportunity, that access to work with athletes that are willing to learn.
Yeah. I remember so I was fresh out of powerlifting. When I first moved up here, and of course I'm 335 at the time. I looked like a big hot mess. But anyway, I went and spoke to the strength coach at Vanderbilt, and I can't remember his name, but he had just come over from TSU like 2 years before. I think that's right. I don't want to be lying. He was not the football strength and conditioning coach, but he was one of the other strength and conditioning coaches. And we just talked shop, right? I just went to hang out, just to pick his brain and see what I could learn. Because I was wanting to get in that game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, the biggest thing was they would only bring you in depending on what your certification was. So if I was a CSCS with 0 experience, I would get hired over having 15 years experience under a bar.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, I understand what the CSCS represents and, the esteem it holds. However, I know a lot of people from the circles I'm in that have their CSCS that couldn't point out a correct squat if I gave them multiple choice.
Certification, that comes down to a whole nother topic.
I get hot about this.
There's a lot of pieces of paper out there that people bought that they don't know.
I think the key word is you said bought.
Yeah.
Which is what it is.
And that's what it comes down to. Until you get into, if you can take a test well, you can pass the CSCS.
Yeah.
Because all you have to do is learn, or at least memorize.
Memorize, yeah.
And then go from there. One of the things that I really like about the level 3 is that it's practical application. You have to actually watch a video and point out what's going wrong. You can't just be like, A, B, C, D. Oh, well, I know the answer based on this. It's actually, you have to know. And I think that's where some of the legitimizing of what CrossFit is doing is coming into play. You're going to get smarter. You're going to get more, I guess, adept at teaching for coaches. They're not just going to be certifications of completion. It's you're an actual CrossFit trainer now.
Well, I remember, and you may have seen the same thing. When I went to my level 1, there was people there that had honestly
never done a workout before.
They had never done that day or that weekend was their first and second CrossFit workout.
Yep.
And I remember one of them, how they break you out in the groups. I was in my squat group. He was the guy standing next to me, and he was talking to us about how he had the money. He was opening a box. And he was there to get his level 1 so he could do so. I'm like, so you don't have any experience? Nope.
Jump on the craze train.
Yeah, it's crazy.
we had a couple personal trainers that came to ours, and I mean, I drove. It was Dr. Hines and I, and we drove out to Charlotte. So Andy Hendel, who's in the games this year, pretty intelligent guy. He was one of our coaches. And this other guy who's there, first CrossFit workout ever, we did Fran, because they don't do Fran anymore for some reason. But we did Fran.
No, they do the well, it's the 21-15-9 burpees and thruster.
Because someone fell off a bar.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. But, we're doing that, and this guy's doing strict pull-ups. He's doing thrusters on his toes. I mean, he's never done any of these movements before, or at least the way that we teach them to do it. And I'm just like, man, that's $1,000 just thrown away, essentially, because, you're not going to be able to do anything with that. You're just getting something to get something at that point, And if you're looking to open a box and you don't know what you're doing,
it's going to close as quick as it opens.
Yeah, you might as well just give me your money and I'll do something with it. I'm just going to be like, hey, you're going to go ahead and spend $1,000 and then another $30,000 on equipment. Just give it to me, and that'll be your investment.
That'd be such a better. It's a better idea.
I feel like it could work. I think we could start that business and we'd be good.
Let's do that. Side project.
Yeah. We'll consult people on. But yeah, you're not ready. Just give us your money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll hold it.
I'll hold it and spend all of it. So, but yeah.
So let me ask you this, because you're getting ready to go to regionals. So what, you're everyday CrossFitter. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm just trying to stay in shape. Mm-hmm. Doing my 3s a week. Mm-hmm. Programming wise, what do you look? How vast is the difference between that and what you guys are up to?
It should be very different. The problem is one of the things I see is it's not. Sometimes it's not. People are trying to take on too much. They're trying to do too much too fast.
The 3 time a week person's doing too much too fast.
I think that some classes are programming it that way. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of open source programming out there for competitors.
Yeah.
And a lot of boxes will take that and place it into classes, which the intensity is great. That's the goal. We want intensity, but you want technique with intensity. So if the technique breaks down when the intensity happens, you're losing the fitness aspect of it, and you're really risking that injury. And I think that's where the issue is becoming with CrossFit, or an issue of CrossFit, would be that people are getting slightly injured and banged up. I wouldn't say it's anything like what that have falsely come out.
Right.
But the average everyday CrossFitter should not be training the way I train, or the way Rich trains, or the way, and I'm not putting myself in that category, it's just always the first name that comes to my mind. He's training 3-4 times a day. Well,
I don't know that everybody can they? Do you think that...
Recovery-wise, no.
Yeah, I feel, let me back up. I never have trained that many times a day, even back when I was younger and trained. We trained 2 hours straight, but it's powerlifting, so there could be 5-6 minutes between sets.
Yeah.
And then we do so, and there's also 2 monoliths and 13 people using it, so it's a little bit different.
Ate a burger between sets.
Well, a lot of times it's before the sets. you got to fill up your squat suit.
You gotta fire it out there. Yeah.
Sometimes you did on accident, but. I don't know that everybody's work capacity can reach that level.
I don't think you have to train to that.
Yeah.
When I went to regionals as an individual, I was training 3 times a day, because I needed to. But I had built to that point. I was, when I first started, it was 6 a.m. And it was every day. I was 6 a.m. and it was an hour and a half a day. And then I bumped it up to 2 times a day. And then, I would squeeze in an extra session going up to that point, just to make sure that I could handle the capacity of working out in 3 different workouts in a day, because that's what your first day of regionals is. Yeah. So you have to build to that point. I think that a lot of people are like, oh well, I can't do a pull-up, but I want to do butterfly pull-ups. So boxes are not wanting to lose people. They'll try to teach them butterfly pull-ups, or they'll try to teach them regular pull-ups, kipping pull-ups, before they even can do a strict pull-up.
Right.
And I think that's where the capacity and the technique start to show that they're not there.
It's muddy.
It gets very muddy, and that's where you're going to get some shoulder injuries. You're going to get some other injuries that could have been avoided if proper steps were taken.
So you think that's the main reason that boxers do that, is just because they don't want to lose that?
Yeah, I mean, either they don't know any better,
Yeah.
which in that case CrossFit needs to do a better job of policing who is running a box and who is coaching. Or they're just really worried about losing a member based on the fact that if I tell you, listen, I don't think you're ready to compete yet, you may go somewhere else and go try to compete.
Yeah,
you know,
I can see people doing that.
Yeah, and with the amount of boxes that are popping up, I mean, from where we're sitting right now, there is three within 5 miles.
Well, there's two that are almost back door to back door.
Rigged and Cool Springs are right next to each other, and Talon's right down the road from that. And then there was 2 off of Columbia Avenue, which is only like 10 miles away.
Okay.
So that's 5 in this area. And then Brentwood Hills is 6, which is 2 exits down.
Yeah.
So, you have plenty of options. Now, it depends on what you're looking for and what you're, if you want coaching, different coaching style, different community, a lot of that plays into factor there. But, I mean, yeah, I think there is a worry when you say no to someone.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I want to do it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Building that capacity, to me, seems like, I don't know that everybody. There's a time commitment that I don't know that everybody can actually, do. Commit to.
And you have to make the time too, because a lot of the times, when we're working, 14, 15-hour days, you get a family at home, or I have dogs, that need to be.
They are children.
They're my furry children. But, they need to be taken care of, and you have to make the choice to try to get those sessions in. It's becoming a point where to build that capacity, you almost have to be paid to build that capacity,
Yeah.
As a trainer, a nutrition coach myself, I'm in gyms regularly, but I'm working. So, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you're in a gym all day. Well,
it's different.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to make money.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to, squeeze in 30 minutes here and 30 minutes there, because, I mean, first of all, I'm 34 years old. I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I need to warm up for 15 just to get ready for to warm up my squat.
Yeah,
so,
I'm with you. I have that. That's one of my biggest struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And there's days where I will try to do 2 in a day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's not the workout part that I hate. It's the warm up, because
it takes so long to prime it.
It takes so long, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this has already been 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And the problem is, you know what to do, so you know how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
And you have to prime something different for every single movement that you're doing. So, I mean, it becomes a point where it's like, all right, well, I know I can get 1 in today. I'm going to have to get as much in as I can in this 2-hour frame. And that's what I had to do this morning, because I know that
once you're warmed up, just roll.
Just warm up. So I warm up on, I did 3 1,500-meter rows.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, and that was my warm up. That was my blood flow. And then I stretched from there, and then I snatched. I tell you what, I was nice and warm. I honestly didn't want to do anything after those. It was pretty terrible. But, I think that's when you start to warm. So you jam in what you can as safely as possible. You warm up your overhead, you warm up your hips, you make sure everything's working right, and then you go into it. And by the time that happens, you're only getting I only get the row in and then some snatching. I have a bunch left, but life doesn't allow for that sometimes. I think that's what's the good thing about being on a team, is that I don't have to take the brunt of it myself.
Share the load.
Yeah. So, you pass some of that off. And some days I have open, like Fridays, I try to keep a little bit more open so I can, work out 2, 3 times if I need to. Yeah. But, what it comes down to is life happens. And if you're not willing to sacrifice that life, not life, but that's lifestyle, then, it's becoming increasingly harder to compete on the level that some of these guys are competing on.
Well, I think we talked before, like how just that level has changed.
Yeah.
What was scaled is no longer scaled, and what was RX is no longer RX.
No, RX is scaled.
Yeah.
If you can't, they're doing muscle ups and scaled sometimes.
Yeah.
Muscle ups aren't the there's no mystique behind muscle ups anymore.
No.
It's can you do back up rises? Can you do strict deficit handstand push-ups at 8 inches? Can you do triple unders? It's becoming, with grid and CrossFit competing against each other half the time, it's becoming like, what kind of freak show can be next?
Yeah.
I see stuff like this, and this guy's a phenomenal athlete, Andrew Rape.
Yeah.
Watching him do gymnastics, he's a big dude.
Yeah.
He's like 230. He makes me feel small. And he's doing like freestanding handstand push-ups where he leaves the ground altogether and puts himself onto 3 plates.
That's crazy.
And keeps his balance. I'm just like, all right, well, I guess I can start doing like Zumba or something else because I can't do that. I don't have the time or the ability to sit and learn that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but that's what it's becoming. It's becoming where these people who have the time and are getting at least paid. I know the top guys get some pretty good money these days.
Yeah.
I think, what was it, $20,000 or $10,000 for the winner of Wadapalooza?
Oh yeah. I don't know.
I think it was a couple thousand. It was over 5,000 at least.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and you have they get younger and younger. It was what's her name? Brooke Wells won. She's 20. I think Noah Olson won. He's like 23.
Yeah.
And he's been CrossFitting for like 25 years.
Not only that, it's, sponsorships, how that's changed.
Oh yeah. They're getting paid to work out.
They get paid to work out.
I want to buy a pair of the shoes you got on because Brooke Wells wears them. That's Brooke Entz. I don't know.
Brooke Entz,
One of them. But I think they're obviously taking advantage of their abilities, which is great. But I just the average CrossFitter, which is what I consider myself at this point, they don't have the time. I don't have the time to do that. So.
Well, I think when you're, what was her name? Is it Lauren Fisher?
Mm.
That was doing that when then she had to quit to go to school.
Oh no, that's Julie Fouché.
Julie Fouché, yeah.
Yeah. And she's back in regionals anyway.
Yeah, back in regionals. Yeah, just like that. It's pretty easy.
As a med student, no big deal.
No, that's another thing that's insane.
It's impressive.
It is impressive.
So.
But that goes back to, just thinking out loud, is it something where some people are just that gifted?
I think the problem with this conversation is you get into that dirty the word we don't have any proof if anyone's taking anything or not to recover. Some of these people are
not even going to go there.
But that's where my mind goes. How can you recover so well?
Well, number one, what we were just sitting here saying we don't like to do is warm up.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're older.
Yeah.
Right? You
we have to.
You put some miles on the body. I see it in our gym. There's some dudes and some chicks that are younger.
Mm-hmm.
Man, they'll walk in the minute class starts,
mm-hmm.
and they'll miss part of the warm up, and they jump in the wad.
Yeah.
One of them did it last night.
Yeah.
Was it Diane last night, or what was it? He did something last night.
Ooh, I love Diane.
Or was that today? Holy cow! No, it was last night.
Handstand push-ups and deadlifts.
Yeah. He did a deficit without a warm up.
Yeah.
And just, I think it was like 4.5 minutes or something.
Yeah.
No warm up. So
yeah. I would need to warm up the shoulders.
Right. When I'm saying, like, gifted athlete.
Yeah.
Of course, some of us are.
But young and.
We're not all created equal.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's fair.
I agree.
So, is it like some people's potential where they can get there, where someone, like me, even maybe when I was younger,
mm-hmm.
would not be able to get there regardless?
Well, and I think it's some of these kids at their age, like at 23, I was coming out of college football. And that's a lot of years of, getting beat up.
Yeah.
These kids are coming out with no wear and tear in their body outside of, learning how to lift. You know, so I think that, you know, the mileage on the body definitely, no matter what the age, the mileage on the body definitely accounts for something. But, you know, when it really comes down to it, I think some people just are capable of recovering better, or they have different, you know, you have multiple types of muscle that they have more that helps them recover better in terms of, you know, maybe they have a good mix of slow and fast twitch that makes it make more sense for them. But I mean, at this point, you know, I don't know what their schedules are like, but I've seen the guys up in Cookeville worked out one workout with them, and they had 3 more after that. But that's what they do. That's their job. So, do I think that some people are built for this? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do I think that I'm built for this? No, not at all. But, you know, it's fun and I enjoy it, and I wish that I had the capacity that some of these kids have.
Yeah, it is crazy. Like I said, just seeing how you build to that capacity. And your capacity can absolutely increase regardless of what your skill level or what you think your genetic potential is. I know last summer before last, I got suckered into a group that was training a lot extra, and I saw a huge increase. Of course, I wasn't able to keep up that for a long period of time. You know, man, it's just like the recovery part of it. You know, I could do 2 wads today, and maybe tomorrow.
None tomorrow.
But then the next day, man, it was...
You need a rest day in between there.
Oh, good God.
Well, and I mean, I think for some of these guys, nutrition plays a huge factor into it. I know guys like Nick Urankar. I know Derek knows him and says that he is impeccable on his food. I mean, the guy looks like a G.I. Joe, so, I mean, I'm sure he is. But, you know, you have to be. It's a full-time job to eat that, to recover, to work out. So, you know, these guys are taking it seriously, and I commend them for all the work they put in. But, you know, I mean, some guys are just built better than others.
Yeah. It's myostatin gene. Is that what it's called? The one that makes you all jacked?
Yeah.
Is that the one?
The blockers. So you block the myostatin so it actually allows for better denser muscle. Yeah.
I need that. That's what I need.
Yeah, I need something. I don't know what it is, but we'll figure that out.
So what else you think about programming? What else you got? I don't even know if we even talked about programming.
Well, I mean, I think we talked about a lot of different things. I think we talked about...
We just jump around.
Yeah, we did. You know, I think it has a general direction. But, you know, I think that one of the things... My coach right now is Brandon Phillips, and he's been working me on my capacity. Capacity is an issue for me. So he's been working me on that, but there's tons of programming out there. There's Misfit, there's Invictus, there's Built by Bergeron.
Comp training.
Which is comp training, and that's most of that is public access. You can pick that up, and do I suggest that you pick that up without knowing where you are? No, I would talk to a coach and understand where you are first, because I know Misfit's volume is phenomenal.
Well, here's a good question for you. You're a coach. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with the athlete at your box that is not at that level, right? Mm-hmm. Where they should probably be the 3, 4, 5 times a week, 1 hour, jump into class, do the best you can in the class, that says, hey, I'm going to be training 3 times a week. How do you deal with that? How do you have that talk and try to get through their head that maybe that's not the correct step? Maybe sometimes take a step backwards to take a step forward, especially if it's someone who, you know, they're injured, they stay injured, or they have nagging injuries. I
think one of the benefits that I've had as a coach is I've been around here for a little while, and I've had some pretty good success competing. So mostly the guys that come to me or I'm coaching at least will listen to me. You know, one of the main things that I'll do is I never had a problem with egos. So I walk up and take weight off someone's bar if they don't need that weight. I have no problem with that. You know, and I have no problem being honest with someone, but I'll pull them aside and make sure that no one's around to make sure their ego isn't hurt. But, you know, I haven't had too many issues with that. You know, if someone's hurt, I'm telling them, I'm like, listen, you're not going to do something that's going to continue or further this injury.
Sometimes you have to protect them from themselves.
100%. I ran into that a lot. There's you run into that in this area, you know. I mean, there's weekend warriors that, you know, feel like they're invincible, and then all of a sudden they find that they're not.
Yeah.
And then they're constantly getting injured because they weren't listening to anyone else. And then finally, you know, it makes sense to them. And then, you know, you just have to be upfront and honest with them.
I call them shooting stars because they flame out really quick.
Yeah.
They're
the guys
they come in hot and boom.
Coming 5 days a week, and all of a sudden it's like, where'd he go?
Hey, where's he been? Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
He tore his shoulder off the bone.
Well, you know, and when someone gets injured in my classes, or did get injured when I was coaching in classes, I took that very seriously, and I took it to heart.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want someone to get injured on your watch. I mean, fluke injuries. I've had someone blow out an Achilles. I mean, that's traumatizing.
Yeah.
That traumatized me. I heard it. I mean, you can hear that. That's like a gunshot.
Ugh.
And it was on the 5th round of a workout. It's not like he didn't warm up. It's not like he wasn't already going through it. It's just a freak injury. But, you know, you worry about that from now on. That's in my head. Yeah. That was like 4 years ago. That's still in my head.
Bounding on the box jumps or?
Double unders.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why I don't do double unders.
There's a good reason.
That's my excuse.
Yeah.
I'll write that down.
I'll give you that one. But yeah, I mean, I think that as long as you care about your people, and I coached every class in the morning for 2.5 years at CrossFit Cool Springs. Mm-hmm. I cared about every single person that came through that door. Did I make everyone happy that came through that door? I was going to tell you what it was. If you weren't listening to me in the warm-up and I had to reprimand you later on, I was going to tell you why.
Yeah.
And some people got mad at me for that. But in the end of the day, that's what a coach should do.
Yeah.
You don't have to embarrass people, but you got to tell them.
It's not about being, you know, yeah, we're all friends and we're trying to be friends, but you're also, you're teaching,
mm-hmm.
you're trying to protect as
mm-hmm.
well. You know, if somebody's starting to throw a bunch of weight on the bar, you know they have no business. Like,
mm-hmm.
hey man, let's do this first and see, let's go from there.
Well,
let's back up a little bit.
And you're the person people have to look to. Mm-hmm. You're the head of that community.
Yep.
You know, whatever that class is, you're the authority. Yep. You have to assert yourself as that authority. You can't be meek and timid, sitting back and watching people.
No, don't worry.
Because someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to do something that I've had people come in and tell me about a CrossFit class that they're like, yeah, I did a clean and I passed out. I'm like, that really shouldn't happen.
No.
So, you know, tell me what happened. So I try to break down their movement based on, you know, what I'm hearing. But, you know, things like that are going to happen. And I think that one thing is great about the programming aspect of things. You can program against that. One of the great things when I was helping or assisting with programming for Cool Springs was, and James Horvath did the programming over there, but, you know, I assisted a little bit. We did a level 1, level 2, level 3. That's what we started out at. And level 1 was, you know, your basic CrossFitter where, all right, you know, this is where you are, this is where you need to be, this is kind of our, you know, scaled version.
Yeah.
Then we had an RX, which was level 2, and then we had an RX Plus, which was level 3. And it was the same workout. So you still had the community aspect, which was great. You know, people were doing the same things. You were just upgrading the movement or the weight if you were an RX Plus. If you're RX, you were doing it normal, and if you're scaled, you were doing scaled movements of those things. So you allowed for everyone to be in the same class without feeling singled out.
I think CrossFit RTR does that same thing.
Is that Roll Tide Row?
Of course
That's terrible.
What are you talking about?
I'm a Notre Dame fan. Y'all embarrassed us. And
Jamie has just been kicked off the podcast. No.
I am no longer here.
No, I've dropped in their box several times, but follow them on Instagram, and when they post a workout, it's A, B, C, and it's B and C is a scaled version of A. So,
and I think that's a great way to have people involved and learn the movements without jumping into the weight too fast. You know, and if someone's telling you they need to go RX Plus, and you know as the coach they should not be RX Plus, you have to tell them. You have to pull them back and be like, listen, just go RX today. This is where you are. You know, we'll get there, but if you want to get there, we'll get there. If you don't want to get there, stay here.
Well, true. That's
Yeah.
the other part of it, too.
Yeah, people have to be willing to. And that's one of the things that I've also come across is programming for people I think should compete that don't really want to compete.
Yeah.
You know, you have tons of people that are going to show ability to compete, but not everyone wants it. Not everyone wants that style, and you can't program at them.
Nope.
You have to make sure they accept whatever's coming at you. And I think that, you know, the box owners and coaches that do compete, they want everyone to compete. Like when I first started cross, I wanted everyone to compete with me. I was like, let's go do a competition here. Let's go do a competition there. And some people just aren't meant to compete.
No, and some people are not competitive.
Yeah, exactly.
Period.
Some people, like I haven't coached in a little while at a normal class, but I had a 7 a.m. class that they all came to class because they wanted fitness, but they enjoyed being with each other. Mm-hmm. It was all women 35 to 55. So actually I had a 70-year-old lady in there too. She was awesome. But you know, they were there for each other.
Yeah. And
it was a community, and that's originally the biggest reason why I got into CrossFit and why I got into what I do with Max Muscle or outside of that now is the relationships in the community. And that's why some people go. You know, not everyone wants to go compete, whether they're capable or not.
I talked about this with Matt Boyd.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that you forgot to press the button on?
I don't know if we had recorded it or not. Who knows? But, you know, one of the biggest things is, you know, you'll have some people that are lifting, you know, still grab the bar, don't put any weights on it ever. It's the same thing they were doing 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. But they're not coming. Even some people are not even coming for the fitness. Yeah. Some people are coming for the community.
Social aspect, yeah.
It's the social aspect. And, you know, hey, to each his own. I'm not going to tell you what to do.
And again, it's up to the coach to recognize that and tell them to go with the program that works best for them. Mm-hmm. So if they need to be at scaled movement of it, they need to be at scaled. If they can move up and they don't want to move up, keep them at scaled. As long as they're getting the fitness in that they want to get in, that's the most important thing.
They're moving more than a lot of people.
Exactly. Especially, you know, I mean, I love that class too. They were probably my most fun.
We got a 5:30 a.m. class that, man, they have their own Facebook group. They've made their own T-shirt. Uh-huh. It's a super close. If somebody ain't there, they call them out. Mm-hmm. It's a tight knit group.
But I think that's a beautiful thing because it ends up policing itself. You know, you have
it's a community inside of the bigger community, which is crazy. Because I remember when there'd be like 2 people in the 5:30 a.m. class. Uh-huh. This morning I coached, and it was 18.
That's phenomenal, and especially in a small town.
I mean, Thompson Station.
Yeah. It's a small area.
It's a little bitty.
You know, so you're having 18 and a 5:30. People are. You work out at 5:30 a.m. You want to be there. You're not just going there because you want to go like run a treadmill.
They're all getting busy.
Yeah. So I think that's a beautiful thing, and I think that's what this community is really ended up being about. And they obviously come for the coaching in the atmosphere.
Well, they'll come the days I'm there.
Yeah. Well, it's you.
It's me.
Clearly. So, but you know, in terms of that, I think that we've touched on a lot of different stuff today.
So this was all about programming, and I don't know that we really did a whole lot of programming, but
we touched on we said the word a lot.
We did say the word, especially in the beginning.
Yeah,
when we were trying to stay on track.
But I think that the workflow was much better. You know, it ends up being more about understanding your athletes than anything else. So not what they want, but what they need. And that's what I do with my clients for nutrition, and that's what you have to do with programming for these clients.
There it is. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.